Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness. I want to go into a little flow with the guides and just kind of see what's going on with the energies for the day or for the weekend. And talk maybe in my next video about some of the synchronicities and what's been going on in my reality based on what I'm picking up on and tuning into with my higher guidance team. So for now, let's just drop into flow and kind of see what wants to come through. This is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis. And so we are coming into a new age, if you will, and some will say we have already surpassed this old age, and many of us are saying we feel old in this new age, and some of us are saying, what's new? All we're seeing is the old. So we would venture to play with this for a moment, for we are all, each and every one of us, a unique display of an ageless system, if you will. Yet each of us holds a different pattern, a different organization. We represent different organizations. We come to the program, or we come to the game, or we come to play the game, all expressing ourselves in a different way, different ages, age groups, so on and so forth. Each of us holds a different vibrational match for an energy exchange, if you will, from multiple places, spaces, and geometries inside the Earth, around the Earth, and from other galactic solar systems. Meaning each and every one of us has a different history. Each and every one of us has different life experiences. Some of us came through from planetary systems. I guess we're going galactic here. Planetary systems that are far, far away from this particular planetary system. And yet here we are now in birth under this very star as a star seed, as we might be called, and each of you holds within your own template or seed the structure for a flowering reality. And so we are in this stage of our development, a flower. We are no longer encapsulated within the same framework that a baby seedling might hold. Yet many people that are experiencing this in this reality are babies, from one perspective, energetically, uh, experiencing this type of reality for the first time. And we might call these beings a new soul versus an old soul. And we would say that each soul carries a quality with it, a sound, a vibration, a geometry that is applicable and necessary for the puzzle. I'm being shown the puzzle of this reality. For each holds a template that is a part of this reality system, that is creating this reality system. So for those of you who are old souls or feel as if you have been around a little longer than some of the others that are uh, new to this, we would invite you to relax. We would invite you to open your hearts and to do your best to let go, let go, let go. And I'm hearing let God do the rest, but that's a play on words. It's like, what's that saying, let go and let God? It's trust. It's allowing ourselves to be all that we came here to be. And by the way, this isn't a religious thing. It can be source energy, frequency, the spirit that moves through all things, the energy that is love, whatever it is that you resonate with, this creationary power or aspect that flows through each and every being animating us. So, whatever that is, allow that to move through us in a fluid way rather than having to hang on to a perpetual programming system that we have grown up in. For many of us are grown-ups, and yet think about how enlightened children are beyond those of the grown-up vision. Many grown-ups have lost their vision about what they would like to see. They are basing their vision on linearity because we have all been exposed to or grown up within or encapsulated within a linear vision. And this is part of our journey. This is neither wrong nor right. It is part of our right. It is our ability on this sacred journey to learn, to grow, to experience certain rules and regulations, and to move beyond those rules and regulations. It is difficult sometimes for those who have been operating at a frequency of knowing more than others seem to know. And some older souls become mm, disgruntled, if you will. They can hold an air of, I know better than you, or an air of bitterness, or an air of, I'm hearing error, like it's, um, it's like control. It's like, basically, I'm just keep hearing, I know more than you. I'm older than you, so therefore I'm this. I'm being shown like let go of it all and really allow ourselves to be patient, to be loving, to be expressive, and to really let this younger generation that's coming up to express themselves in this beautiful way that may look a little different than the teachings that we've come to obey, is what I'm hearing. And what I'm being shown is it's like all teachings, esoteric, um, and non-esoteric. I'm also being shown anatomically correct. So I am being called to give an example of the, you guys have ever heard of, I've talked about it before, but the Mandela effect. There is and I encourage you guys to look this up, and I to recognize that even the anatomical correctness that we've been taught is no longer the same as it once was. When I was younger, the kidneys were in a different place than they are now. The heart was in a different place than it is now. I think we're going to be learning that the body has more organs than we used to realize that it had. Or better spoken, it's kind of like, you know how small the appendix is? Well, there's going to be something that we find potentially inside the brain that we didn't know was there before. Um, and when I say more organs, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're going to grow another organ. It might be that we learn about an organ that has a different structure within it that we never saw before, or we come to better understand it. And part of this is the Mandela effect. It's because as a collective, we have shifted timelines. So what was real on one timeline is not the same on this timeline from one perspective. Or forget the timelines, what was real and accessible in that timeline or dimension is different in this particular dimension. And that's hard to wrap our brains around. That's where the guides are like, this is very nonlinear. And so I encourage you guys to look that up if you've never seen the Mandela effect. A lot of us know about movies. You know, I remember the line being one way, somebody else remembers it being something different, but it's not just one person, it's like millions of people remember it this way, but millions of people remember it another way, and both are correct. So I'm going back to the anatomical correctness. And what the guides are saying as I'm saying this is both are correct. So the old school way of how we've learned and how we've taught and how what we've been taught isn't wrong, or wasn't wrong for that era or that area of a degree, is what I'm hearing. So this has to do with the angle, the dimensions of our reality. And then what I'm being shown is, so the new stuff that's coming up, the more we can learn to embrace it and just relax into it and not have to hang on to, this is how the Merkaba works. That's not correct. Now, this may be that somebody does have the correct information on, for instance, the Merkaba. But what I'm being shown is that doesn't mean we know everything about it. So we might have somebody that comes in and goes, well, you know, has never done anything having to do with this research. And all of a sudden they get this download that changes the entire, I'm hearing like diagram, changes the entire structure of how we thought before. So there's a lot of new innovations that are actually what I'm seeing coming up in the field. And there's a lot of people that are talking about this that are seeing the same thing, that are either intuitives or channels or even astrologers, which is really fascinating. And this goes back to what the guides are saying right now about the era, right? We're in a new era. So allow us to air our grievances about what we feel sometimes we're losing in a different way. Perhaps we can grieve over some of the things that we are seeing play out or change that we don't like to see, or that we perceive we don't like, or that we think or perceive is negative. Let us be, if you will, in allowance of that which others need to experience in order to close out these old structures, rather than continually pumping energy back into that system of right versus wrong, us versus them, all of those stories. Allow some of these stories to play out with the curiosity without having to become caught up in the story itself, therefore feeding that particular field, if you will, because this pulls us into that field. It pulls us out of alignment with our heart coherence, with a higher state of the new alignment. I'm hearing the new alliances that are being built and that are being felt and that are in the process of coming together. For this is a process. Not necessarily all changes will take place in the flash of a light or overnight. This is happening from one perspective at the same time. So, what I've been writing about and what I've been shown is that while this old stuff is dissolving, the new stuff just shows up and appears because it's already here. Some of it's because the inventions have already been here for a really long time, but now the red tape has been cut and now they're accessible. Partly because they can't be held back anymore, partly because we're demanding this, we're demanding more, partly because the energies have shifted that are allowing us to accept this as something that we may not have accepted before. And I'm not just talking about whoever's watching this video. I'm talking about the collective, society, people who aren't aware of some of this. Also, I'm just being shown the more we come together and co-create and collaborate, even with those who may not necessarily know what we know, the more we learn from each other and the more we activate each other, was what I'm hearing. And I'm being called to play with that. Um, and so I kind of got off on the 5 tangents there. So rather than isolate and put up our dukes, so to speak, and put ourselves into a response that is less than coherent, that is responsive to the incoherence of others, and then we bring ourselves into their state of incoherence, we invite you to recognize that this disorder and this feeling of chaos is temporary. And so we would invite you to bring things back into a greater state of order or negentropy rather than a heightened state of disillusionment, discordance, and disagreements. For even in the new age, we will not all agree on everything, especially in the beginning. We will find reasons to disagree, and this disagreement, if you will, strikes a chord. Meaning, when we realize we disagree with something, we are being called to play with what we do agree on and allow some of these things to shift the degrees in which we are lining up with our new reality. So I'm being shown like we might see something and not like it, but rather than fighting over it, what they're saying is do something about it. Make up your own um, invention that can counter whatever this is that we've been disagreeing on. Now, some people are here specifically to help co-create those new rules of living reality. And what I'm hearing is it all comes back to the beginning. I'm hearing the golden rule, right? So if we can practice from the golden rule of doing unto others, we can agree to disagree. And then what's gonna happen is humanity will start to create in abundance rather than lack. We'll move away from that which we don't like to see, and we start to create the things that we do see becoming available to us because we're focusing inwardly from that state of coherence, which is allowing the inventions to come to us, which is allowing our imagination to open, which is allowing the co-creation and the coming working together, because what I'm just seeing is co-creation versus separation. So again, don't what I'm hearing is don't fall under the guise that we are what I'm hearing is we are being misled. So there's something about that, like it's a play on words. Like even some of the people that are like, you're being misled are doing the misleading. So there's a lot of things that are laced with truth and a lot of things that are laced with, and I'm hearing be the sleuth. Like you might feel like it doesn't make sense because it really doesn't. Even if the person we're listening to thinks they know what they're talking about and it's not intentional, or even if such as a world leader or such as a spiritual advisor that's been teaching the same thing for a really long time. And I'm not just talking about going into the heart, breath work, getting grounded, all of those things you can use different ways of finding the body, being in the body, of connecting with earth, of doing grid work. So if you have someone that's saying this is the only way to do it, everybody else is wrong, that's usually a red flag. Not to say that they're wrong or that what they're doing isn't working. But from another perspective, it's one way. It's not the one way because there are many ways that all lead us back to oneness, that lead us back to wholeness. We didn't come here to only practice one thing. That's why we're so diverse and so unique here on earth. Now, this is going to create some feelings of complexity because oftentimes we think that we are um, it's like we jump on something that works for us and then we want to hang on to that forever. What I'm being shown is gleaning, snacking, right? Let's snack and take a little here and a little bit there, and then utilize whatever works for us to then gather more resources and not limit ourselves to only one thing as being the source. Because as things change and as things shift, it's going to be happening so fast that it's almost impossible to just stick with one resource because things are changing so quickly. However, in that moment when we feel guided to explore something, oftentimes we're being guided to explore that in that moment because there might be one thing that is relevant for us to take with us. And then the rest we can kind of um, allow it to leave it behind as we move forward. So I can use a lot of examples here, but this is the guides are just like really be open because now is the time to embrace new ideas. Now is the time, but yet I'm hearing new ideas that we can ground into reality and a somewhat digestible format. So, sometimes we have things that are so out there that we can't quite grasp what they mean. Oftentimes I get messages and I'm like, I have no idea. I'm going to share it. Somebody will get something from it. Um, that doesn't mean that so some of the things that we're getting about I'm gonna go back to the Merkaba or about mathematics or about the esoteric teachings. The foundational esoteric teachings still have I'm hearing um, value, of course, but there's more. So we're bringing more value to those teachings because we're remembering more as a co-creative being. So the old and the new, if you will, are coming together to create a new view. And so if you are only attached to the old view, you will not be able to see the new. I'm hearing eyes wide open, with newly awakened eyes, with eyes to see. You will not necessarily see past the clarity that once was into the vision or the birthing of the new reality that has only just begun, if you will. I'm seeing like we've only just begun. Um, it's like we can't even fathom necessarily how big we can be, for example. And so we come back to the cohesiveness of heart coherence and the ability to find your own individuality within the majority, within the collective ocean or sea of a I'm being shown a lot of people just being in polarization, in polarity, right? So the collection in the sea of polarity, see through the sea of polarity so that we can be out of a state of mentality into a state of mental clarity. But we do this through inner vision. And once we use our inner vision, we tune out and we turn away from the television, that which we have been told and advised, televised to listen to give back our energy to. We come back into a new view of an inner view of this frequency of love, of compassion, of patience. And from that space, that perspective, we can see what we've been missing. We can see what we've forgotten. We can hear the song of our youth singing back to us from the timelessness of the now moment, through meditation, through breath work, through interaction in loving compassion with our fellow humans. And this is something that it's going to be potentially challenging for a lot of people because some people are just tired. They're tired of being patient, right? They're tired of the old. They're just ready for something fresh and new. But my guidance team is like, it's already here. So we have to keep coming back to feeling that way, focusing on that. And that other stuff will lose its focus. It will not be as interesting. It will not be as loud. We will not be as triggered by it because we're creating such a beautiful new space that those other tremors, as things fall apart, won't be as impactful to us who are creating this new start, who are feeling this new energy coursing through not only our physical body and template, but then branching out through this tree of life into this new dimensional weaving. So it's all happening simultaneously. So just recognizing that is so important right now. As the old structures fall, we're going to see so much more almost immediately come to support us in response. It's almost like what I'm being shown is those things had to get out of the way so that we could then see this new thing. And so we haven't even gotten through the rubble. Like I'm seeing like a building example that falls down in an earthquake. As the building is falling, something else is being offered. And so we're going to have this simultaneous balancing of feeling these emotions while this other stuff is collapsing. There's going to be people who are in it. And simultaneously, we can, if we can hold our coherence, we can feel compassion and empathy and love, and we can support that emotionally, mentally, and so on and so forth without giving that all of our energy, so that all of this new stuff can also be supported and felt. And that support and new energy is going to help balance out what we're seeing fall apart, that's creating this feeling of, you know, imbalance, yuckiness, this feeling of, ew, how can this person behave that way? Simultaneously, we're going to see somebody else that just steps up to the plate and we're like, wow, that is awesome. So it's being able to see both. And I'm seeing use two eyes to see, bring it into the oneness that really is the sight, the inner sight. And I'm hearing the inner excitement and that inner child who loves everyone, right? Yet we're the adult, we're the mature ones, rebirthing our inner child, supporting the new system, supporting the old system, as like I'm seeing us kind of holding out our hands so that when it collapses, we're helping it land a little more softly. Um, for those who we can help. But what I'm being shown is don't get stuck under the building as it collapses, because then you're going to be the one that needs the help being pulled out, and that's going to happen from time to time. So if you're that person in that moment, it just is what it is, and not judging ourselves too harshly about the moments that we have where we are the ones who need the rescue, not rescuing, that's not the right word, that need a little extra support. And then other times we're the ones giving that extra support. Sometimes we're the ones creating, and sometimes we're the ones helping to take down the old system. But it's all about how we're feeling about what we're doing, also. That's really important. Coherence, coherence, coherence. In love and light, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste.